Welcome to Robert Pears Photography. This is Robert Pears. In this lesson, we're going to look at composition and teach you some of the rules that will help you for both still photography and videography to produce better quality images. Our goal is to teach you the rules of composition so that ultimately they become natural to you. Your eye becomes trained to see the rules and apply them automatically to both still photography and videography and allow you to be more creative and produce better images. So in this lesson, we're going to look at several things. We'll start off talking a little bit of composition, and then we'll go into the rules, the rule of thirds, the golden rule. We'll talk a little about the Dutch angle, the flow of a photograph, the importance and the value of changing the position, the angle that you're taking a photograph. We'll look at different lenses. We'll talk a little about macro work, and then we'll conclude. So why worry about composition? Well, a good placement of a subject in an image strengthens the message that you're trying to portray. You've heard the saying that a picture contains 1,000 words. We want those 1,000 words in that picture to clearly bring across the message that you want to deliver. And by following the rules based on how the brain interprets information, you will be very effective in delivering the message that you want in the image that you have produced. We'll talk a little about the flow of an image, and this is very important when we look at marketing. How things are placed and how things flow, how all the objects and subjects within that image flow together. Where is everything leading the eye to? What is the overall image pointing you to and the message that is trying to portray? By correctly placing an object in the right place and using the background correctly, you can actually lead the eye to where you want it to go and more effectively deliver the message you're seeking to deliver. Let's start with the simplest of the rules, which is the rule of thirds, the most basic rule, and the rule that most photographers and photographs follow. So how does the rule work? Well, if you look at the image, it hopefully will explain it a little better, but we're going to divide the picture into thirds. So we're going to have 2 lines vertically, 2 lines horizontally, so that we've broken the picture into these quadrants of thirds. And so there'll be 9 quadrants altogether. And you'll see at the cross section of these lines is what we refer to as a node. And so the point of interest or the focal point of your image should be placed at a node or close to the vicinity of a node. The third lines we're going to see play another importance as well, but the main subject should be along these third lines with the key focal point occurring around these nodes. Following on the rule of thirds, what I want you to see in this image is that the horizon in a picture should be placed either at the bottom third or at the top third. Again, these third lines are important. We're going to place the main subjects either at the third on the vertical, or we're going to place them at the 2/3 line, and the horizontal line is going to be at the 1/3 or the 2/3 line horizontally. Okay, here I've shown you some examples of horizons and where we've placed them either at the 1/3 or the 2/3 line. This is not something we religiously follow, but it's a rule. We try to apply it and follow it. Again, placing at the midpoint, which we often do, creates imbalance mentally, and we'll talk a little more about that in a minute. So you want to aim to place the horizon either at the 1/3 or the 2/3 line to get a better composition. So why not just place everything at the midpoint? Why not just place everything at the midline, horizontally and vertically? Well, we end up creating tension in an image. Sometimes that is purposeful, and so in this image we've actually done deliberately. We have placed the horizon midpoint and the lightning very close to the midpoint because the goal is to create a sense of tension. This might be done, for example, at a crucifixion scene in photography, videography. If you look carefully, you will see they place things midpoint. Why? Because mentally it confuses you, creates a sense of tension. And I want you to look at videography. I want you to watch some of the movies. And again, where are things placed? You're going to see things are placed at the 1/3 line. You're going to see that the main subject, when they're talking to them, for example, interviewing them, or they're talking in a part of the movie, they're always going to be at the 3rd line, either the 1/3 or 2/3 line vertically. And you're going to see again the horizon is going to be the 1/3 or 2/3 horizontally. So again, we're following how the mind interprets things. So typically an image should be at the 1/3 or the 2/3, but if we're deliberately trying to create a tension in an image, we'll use the midpoint instead. Here I'm touching a little bit about the flow of a diagram or flow of a photograph. By placing the subject correctly, again, we've placed them at the 1/3 line. but we've got everything else flowing. So if you look in this image, how the stairs flow, the banisters, even the pictures are pointing towards the main subject. I want your eyes caught on the bride, and so I want everything flowing and leading you to the bride, and so that's the flow of this picture. So if you think about the background and everything in it, when you place somebody, where is everything pointing to? And you want it to point towards the main subject. Here I want to show you an example. Again, it's not a hard and fast rule, but look at this and you see that we have placed the faces of this couple around the node of the 2/3 line, both vertically and horizontally. Again, where's your eyes been drawn? To their faces, and they're placed right around that node, and everything else points to and leads you to that part of the picture. So let's look at a simplified version of the golden rule. We could get into more detail, and I will in a more advanced class talk about the more advanced golden rule. But here's a simplified one, and here you see it's more following the rules of pi. So they're not exactly 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/3 are 9 boxes of thirds. But what you see here is that the center box is much tighter and much smaller. And again, you follow the same rules. You have the lines breaking the page into 3 components, vertically and horizontally, but the center one is much tighter. And again, you have these nodes so that the main subject should occur around these nodes. So we see here in this image of the bride coming down the aisle that she is purposely set around the 2/3 line, and you can see there she's very close to that node. If we look at the other picture, we have placed the bride on the 1/3 vertically again, and her face is based again at that node point. Okay, here I'm going to introduce you to a Dutch angle. And Dutch angle is where we're going to actually turn or tilt the camera in such a way that the subjects or objects that we are focusing on are at an angle, and if we do it correctly, they will fall at an angle where they now are placed at a node point. So the key point of focus or center of focus of an image, such as in the first picture in the daughter-father dance, we see that their faces occur right at the node point. And had we not done that, they would probably been centered. But we've now tilted a little bit. So taking an image at a tilt, and you can do this both in videography and photography, take an image at a tilt and place them so that the point of focus is now at a node point. Here I've given some more examples of Dutch angle, and you can see that we have tilted the camera and taken images at a tilt. Now sometimes when they're cropped, we can lose the node points, but if you take it from the original, basically the flow of the diagram places the center of focus at a node point. And we have drawn the attention and we've moved things in such a way as we create a little more depth to the picture, and we can add emphasis and get a better flow to the diagram, and again place the subjects at a node point where we want them. So just retouching base on the Dutch angle, I encourage you to play around and try with it, and take some images, try tilting in various ways until you finally get the idea of it, and placing key centers of focus at a node point. And again, I want you also to think about, when you look at a diagram, the background, the placing of the arms and every part of it. What is it flowing and where is it leading you to? So there's a flow to a diagram that's leading you to where you want them to look. Was it looking to the face? Is it drawing you to the face? What is it drawing you to? So again, look at the background, look at the subject, look at everything, and how is it flowing and where is it leading your attention. In this one, I have tried to give you some lines to show you how we are using the background and everything else to lead your eyes to where? The bride's face. So the banister, the lines on the ceiling, the actual frame of the picture, everything is leading you in one direction towards the bride's face. Another technique that I can mention is what we refer to as the vanishing point. So we place, or the subjects are at a vanishing point, so everything is leading you, directing you, as you can see by the arrows, towards the main subject, which seems to be almost at a vanishing point. Another cool technique in terms of the flow of a diagram or a photograph. A very important point that I want to make is the eye is the light of the soul, and in most pictures the center of focus, particularly when people are involved, should be the face and, more importantly, the eyes. The eyes should be sharply in focus, particularly if it's a close-up. There's something, we're all humans drawn to the face, and we're particularly drawn to the eyes. We want to see the eyes. You know, that's important. So again, focus on the face, particularly the eyes, and let everything lead you to the eyes. I think in a great picture, to me, what makes a great picture, it's the eyes. You know, the facial expressions, particularly what is happening with the eyes. So pay careful attention to the face and particularly what is going on with the eyes. You know, when I'm taking pictures, I like to look around. I like to place my subject in particular places that are strategically thought out. As I look around, I see the environment, I see the background, and I see everything flowing the way I want. And I see an image coming to mind, and I'll begin to use various things to help me create that image that I want. And if I don't like it, the great thing about digital photography is I can always delete it. I can take multiple, I can try different angles and play around until I get the image that I want. But I encourage you to begin to think things through your creative eye, begin to become very aware of the background, how things flow together, and by strategically placing a person in the right place, you can cause an image really to draw the person that's viewing that image into seeing what you saw and seeing the message that you're trying to deliver. Another piece of advice that I give, as photographers, we typically become very stiff and we stay in the one position. But I'm going to encourage you to begin to move up and down and to begin to see things creatively. Move the horizon, try different things. For example, in this image, we actually put a mirror down, and by using the mirror, we're actually able to capture light back on the flowers. So the bottom part of the flowers would have been dark, but by using the mirror, we actually add additional light. But again, dropping down and taking things at a different angle. So I encourage you to move the horizon, sometimes move to the 2/3 line, drop your position, change position, go at a different angle, look down, look up, and see if taking a different angle can create a different image and a different message. One of the things we pride ourselves when it comes to wedding photography is different angles, and I really think it's important that you change the angles and not just be stationary, because by having different angles you can capture so much more of the story that's going on. You can capture more of the emotion, you can capture what's going on in the bride's face, the groom's face, etc. And I say this for all types of photography. By changing position you can capture different aspects of the story. So I encourage you to change the horizon, I encourage you to change the angle and to move around. You know, take the picture but then take it from different angles. Again, you can delete them if you don't like, but you never know what you might just capture. Here's another example. When we take dance scenes at weddings, for example, or special events, we will do everything from getting down low to the ground to actually getting up on the chair and looking down. There's so many different angles you can create and so much different aspects of the story that you can really capture by just moving and changing the angle at which you take the camera. Go in and close, take it a wide angle and go in and close, using a zoom lens, and just changing the angle, changing different techniques, you can really capture different aspects of the story. I brought up in the last slide different lenses. So why different lenses? Because different lenses bring up different creative abilities. They have different distortion effects and different things, the effects that they bring to an image. And for example, a wide angle really distorts perspective. A zoom lens can really allow you to get in close and it can add a nice bokeh. A normal lens can capture the image as a normal eye sees it. So again, playing around with lenses can give you different tools to capture the story in a different way and allow you to, for example, the zoom lens, you can capture great intimacy. I love wide angles for capturing action. You can go really in close and just capture a great moment of action. So playing around with lenses and using understanding a lens, you really can change the story and capture it in a very creative way. We've got a whole lesson on lenses. I encourage you to look at it and learn about lenses and their different perspectives and different things they bring to the table. Bottom line, to me, it's about capturing the big picture. You want to capture the intimate moments. You want to capture the bigger picture. You want to bring a cohesive piece of art that has truly captured that whole story from different angles. Whether I'm doing this for a commercial customer or for a wedding, I want to look at things from different angles. I want to create something to me that captures the whole thing and then allow the client to choose and have a total picture to look at. If you haven't tried macro photography, I encourage you. It really opens up a wonderful world, whether it's looking at an insect, whether it's looking at rings, flowers, 1,000 things. And we have used macro work for a lot of stuff, and it really does bring out a whole new world. For example, if you go in close to a butterfly or a bee landing on a flower, and you're in close within 6 inches, and it's a totally different world. You've brought your customer or person viewing that image into a totally different world. Whether it's the rings again or the flowers, you could create a whole new world by going in close. And they're terrible. You can use a macro filter, put it on a lens, which gives you a fairly good image, or you can actually use a dedicated macro lens and really get in close. There's some that are less dedicated, and there's some that are really hardcore dedicated, and the hardcore will let you get sometimes within 6 inches of the subject. Other ones let you get a couple of feet. But again, opens up a whole different world, and I strongly encourage you to look at macro photography. Here I love having two cameras pointed at the same subjects, taking the same moment in time but from different angles, and you can truly capture something. For in this example, the one image we see totally different. We see here the groom reading his vows, and we get a general picture, but then in the black and white we're actually looking at the face of the bride and seeing her delight as she hears these vows read. So by having two cameras pointing at the same image, taking the picture at the same time, we can capture totally different moments and capture a story a different way. So putting all together, well, our goal is to get you to have a passion and fun with photography. And by playing around and learning some basic rules and training your eyes to place things automatically or deliberately placing things, and then using some creative thoughts, I think you can create some great images by being aware and taking time to think about the background. So often, most great pictures are destroyed by a background. And by just taking that extra time to look at the background and seeing, does the background add to my image or take away? Does the background move you and draw you to the center focus, or does it distract? And if I move here, if I turn here, if I look at a different angle, if I tilt, if I use a Dutch angle, can I change the flow of an image? Another thing they'll add, for example, in wedding photography, I think it's important that we place ourselves based on the background. I want to place myself so the background adds to the image, doesn't distract. So I encourage you to take a picture, again, place yourself so the background adds to the image and flows and causes the viewer to be drawn to your center of focus. Play around by tilting the camera to get a great Dutch angle. Play around, again, where you move the horizon, changing direction, look up, look down, and see, and then take the same image, multiple different angles, different directions, and see the difference, and see how many different views of the story you can give. Well, if you have additional questions, feel free to contact us. Check us out online at our website at robertpears.com, or go visit us on Facebook and like us and check out some of our additional lessons. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.